making digital payments has been the biggest pain point that we are experiencing personally, right? Cards do work everywhere.
Yep.
But if you want to not carry cards and just use our phones, then there are so many apps that we need to download. There are so many, sometimes we cannot operate because our number is an Indian number. And, how does this solve and when will this solve?
There are some governments that have bilateral agreements.
Yeah.
But that concept of multilateral agreements is still being worked on. So I think until we have that solved, it is a pain point.
What has been the biggest technological advancement in the onboarding time that you have seen, and what has enabled this?
Yeah, so the KYC process is absolutely critical, and this is something that cannot be compromised. Historically, it takes a lot of time because then you need a big team who are looking at a lot of little transactions. So at our bank, we actually have our AML function does use AI technology to help filter some of the easier ones and checks and balances. So that helps speed up the process.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for your time here. For the benefit of audience, could you please give us an introduction about yourself and how has your career been so far?
Yeah, sure. I'm Gaya Ananda. I am currently Global Head of Client and Market Engagement at Banking Circle. Banking Circle is a licensed bank in Luxembourg, but we have offices all around the world, and we're currently processing over €1 trillion euros in value.
Wow.
With over 700 customers who are licensed, regulated financial institutions. My career has been interesting. So always in the marketing business development space, but I've gone everywhere from consulting to education, and then more recently from tech into stablecoins and now a bank.
Interesting. You did talk about stablecoins, so we're going to come to that a little later as to what this buzzword is all about.
Yes.
And trying to understand and decode what it stands and how the world of financial ecosystem will change or transform with that. But I want to start with one fundamental problem which all of us have been facing here since we are here in Singapore and we've traveled from India. Making digital payments has been the biggest pain point that we are experiencing personally, right? Cards do work everywhere.
Yep.
But if you want to not carry cards and just use our phones, then there are so many apps that we need to download. There are so many, sometimes we cannot operate because our number is an Indian number. And, how does this solve and when will this solve?
I think there are a lot of initiatives being done today. So I think wallet technology, for example, is something that's coming up that may increasingly solve for this. But you're right. Today, it's still a pain point. There are some governments that have bilateral agreements.
Yeah.
But that concept of multilateral agreements is still being worked on. So I think until we have that solved, it is a pain point. So today between Malaysia and Singapore, for example, it's quite easy because of that bilateral agreement. But Malaysia also borders cities in Thailand, but there's friction there. So you end up having to use cash because small merchants won't accept card at the payment service terminal, for example. Or if you needed to do a refund, that would then be impossible.
Oh, yes. Yes. So recently I was in Oman and I was trying to get a refund for one of the advances that I paid. And it's been like 2 months and I've still not received it. They're not able to figure a way out to send me money back.
Yes.
I mean, that is a challenge. So how is it that your bank is looking at it in terms of technology perspective? What is that ecosystem that all the countries can come together and create, which you think will be beneficial in addressing this?
So for us, we actually bank the fintechs who are developing and innovating these technologies, right?
Yeah.
But how we look at it is, if you look at how banking has worked for hundreds of years, a lot of them were built on legacy rails. So fintechs who want to innovate quickly are held back by a lot of these legacy systems, processes. They sometimes have to wait, over 9 months to get onboarded. Whereas with a modern bank like us, onboarding is much quicker. We're able to actually build on the blockchain. We can build on modern rails. So our API, you only need one API, one integration to access the world. So this is what lets fintechs move a lot faster than they would have 10 years ago.
Interesting. So pivoting our conversation to the onboarding front where you just spoke about, right? What has been the biggest technological advancement in the onboarding time that you have seen, and what has enabled this? Like, even for your customers, is it the same? Like, you onboard at the blink of an eye, or what kind of technology do you use?
So actually for us, the thing with onboarding, it all comes down to trust. right?
Yes.
So the KYC process is absolutely critical, and this is something that cannot be compromised. And it historically takes a lot of time because then you need a big team who are looking at a lot of little transactions. So at our bank, we actually have our AML function does use AI technology to help filter some of the easier ones and checks and balances. So that helps speed up the process a
So
lot
that's an
more.
initial filter.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So then people can focus on the bigger stuff. So then that actually is what helps us speed up because the human energy is spent on the more complicated task and the AI can do a lot of the front end work.
That's right. In terms of technology, what really excites you in the coming years? You feel that there'll be this particular technology which is actually going to make a big wave in this industry?
I think everyone is talking about agentic commerce. So I think that is going to make a big wave. Personally, though, I feel like there's a lot of shiny new technology everywhere. And sometimes simple stuff works. QR codes seem to work. The QRIS system in Indonesia is working really well. So I think it's not trying to focus on constantly going and jumping into what's next and what's shiny and new, but focusing on what we have now and what we are actually setting proper frameworks for so that they actually have a chance to be used properly in the ecosystem before we move on to the next shiny thing.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, everybody is focusing on what technology is coming rather than the pain point it's addressing.
Exactly.
So pain
Yeah.
points is, I think, the critical aspect here. So in the, what geography do you work in, if I may know? What geography?
The bank or me personally?
You personally.
So my role is global. I'm based here in Singapore. But the bank, like I said, is predominantly in Europe. That's where we were founded and our biggest growth has been. And now we're expanding rapidly in Asia.
Right. What is that? What is it that brings you to Asia? Like, what are you looking to solve here?
I think it's the same pain points all over the world,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Everyone, especially in Asia, cross-border payments has been a big pain for a long time. I think in Europe, there has been some maturity to that, right? So there are some agreements that have helped that. It's not necessarily the case in Asia. The pace of innovation, what fintechs are doing to try and bridge this gap is insane. It's at another level, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of demand for modern banks like us who can support this growth.
Get that. Now, again, pivoting to a very important buzzword that I have been hearing all 3 days here, it's tokenization.
Right.
So in your own words, can you explain what this means and how will this bring the world together?
Not so much on this question. Sorry.
So yeah, are you comfortable in explaining tokenization to us?
Not really. Not to the level that a lot of other people, if that's
okay. And how about stablecoins? Is that a comfort area?
What is the question on
Like, explain to us what stablecoin is and how the architecture looks to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's pivot the conversation and talk about stablecoins. One of the buzzwords that everybody is talking about. What is stablecoins in very simple terms?
In very simple terms, it's just a digital version of cash. So that's all it is. It works almost exactly the same way. It's just digital instead of physical. At the moment, there are different types of stable coins, if you would like to say. There's the private issued, which is, I think, what is gaining popularity.
Yeah.
So you will see USDC mentioned, for example, and I was previously at Circle. At Banking Circle, we issued a Euro stable coin, Euri. So that is gaining in popularity as well with a lot of the payment service providers. So utility for stable coin is coming. But a lot of the use case, actually, sorry, I fumbled that one, but yeah. You got the start.
Yeah,
Is okay. Okay. Thank you.
This is nice. So the last question I have for you is, banking is changing at a very drastic pace. In the last 5 years, the kind of innovations I've seen, I've never seen them even in the, past years, like past 10 years or a decade. So the 5 years has literally shifted us from a physical banking branch to our mobile phones.
Yes.
How do you think the next 5 years will look like?
How do I think? To be honest, I think at the end of the day, people are social beings and they will still crave some form of social connection. I don't see a world in where we are 100% just invisible. I know money is getting increasingly more and more invisible, but I still think there will there will be a shift, right? Where people still want human connection.
So you don't envision a world where not humans are the ones we interact with.
Potentially. I think there might be, as we are going into the metaverse and, physical AI, I think that there could be a world, but where it is at least a representation of a human connection. So I think a lot of the models are getting a lot better at mimicking. I mean, I have conversations with my chat GPT a lot, and it doesn't feel like I'm having it with AI sometimes, right?
They're so real.
It's so real.
Yeah.
So I think there is a space for that to take over potentially. But I think it will always look like a form of where there is some kind of interaction and intelligent conversation. And I hope there'll still be empathy in that, because when you're dealing with money, and especially in certain communities, it's really important to know that your money is safe, your money reached who it needed to reach, and that you can get it back if anything went wrong.
That's also, I think I agree with, I second your point, because I've heard a lot of people come here and say that it's going to transform in a way that the human interaction is going to keep decreasing, and probably 90% of the time, the person on the other end of the phone we are talking to is going to be a AI chatbot.
Yeah.
But I still believe that I have better conversations with human, and my queries get resolved with a human better than an AI chatbot.
Yeah.
So,
and I used to work at a chatbot company actually. Again, some of the simple queries can get filtered to the chatbot, but there is always going to be a more complicated case.
Yeah.
There is always going to be a very personal story attached to something where you just need a human, or your customer will want to know that there is a person who cares behind this, right? And I think at some point that is going to end up coming back full circle into what differentiates fintech.
Love that thought. Life comes a full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. It was so nice having a conversation with you. Any parting thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Parting thoughts. I think it's just about staying curious and continuing to explore what innovations are happening, what conversations are happening, but always at the back of your mind having this sense check of, are my customers actually ready to take this technology leapfrog with me? Or how do I pace it out so that I meet them where they are and where they next need to be?
That's such a beautiful thought to actually
Thank you.
absorb and reflect upon, because this is extremely critical for everyone to understand that are your customers ready to take that leap with you?
Yeah.
Right. So thank you so much, Gaya, for giving us your time and being here with us. It was
My
a pleasure
pleasure
to have you.
Thank you so much, Sneha, for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.